worldwide on WGNSradio.com. You can listen to us anywhere. We are WGNS Murfreesboro.
I get a radio that's kind of possessed.
It's Coast to Coast AM overnight, every night.
You have a possessed radio?
Yeah.
WGNS Murfreesboro. The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into a Wednesday on the Roundtable here on WGNS. Glad to have you, and the great thaw is underway. Woke up this morning and my alarm tells me what the temperature is outside, and it said it's 59 degrees. And I thought we couldn't add all of last week's temperatures up and get 59 degrees. And but everybody wants to talk about the weather, and no better guy to talk about the weather with today than Davis Nolan of News 2. And Davis, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Chip, and it's such an honor to be on with you on WGNS Radio this morning. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you getting up a little early because a lot of times, you know, whether it's you or some of my other friends in the Nashville television business, when I want to have them on, it's like, okay, what is their schedule like this week? Because if they're working mornings, they're waking up at 2:30. If they're working evenings, they're getting up at noon. So I guess it kind of worked out today, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Well, yeah, I'm sort of the swing guy at Channel 2, too. For example, I was in, I guess it was last Friday morning, riding around in one of our vehicles, looking at roads, and then I'm in for Danielle tonight and tomorrow night. And and then, of course, I do my normal weekend shift, and then I report 3 days a week on weather if I'm not doing weather. So, I could be all around the clock, and it just worked out fine for us today.
Yeah, that worked. I'm glad it did. And there has been plenty of weather to report on over the last 10 days or so.
Oh, that's for sure.
Golly.
Yeah, and go back to December when we had the tornadoes.
Right.
And I know Rutherford County wasn't as affected by that as Davidson and also Montgomery County. I was up there just yesterday, as a matter of fact. There's some question marks about how some of the houses were held down up that way. But anyway, we went through the tornadoes in December, and then we switched to January, and then suddenly, after everybody was begging for snow, the old watch out what you ask for saying comes to mind to me.
Exactly. By the way, folks, if you have weather questions or questions for Davis in general, give us a text at 615-893-1450. That's 615-893-1450. That's the text line, and you can get your questions in for Davis Nolan, our guest today on the Roundtable. If I'm right, didn't you recently celebrate 40 years with Channel 2?
Yes, actually, it's now 42. So
42
it was just
years. Wow.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago we did the 40th celebration, and I'm still going,
It's rare that a guy starts at 5 years old on television,
Yeah, I wish. Technically speaking, Chip, I'm actually 69 years old. I'll be 70 in May of this year.
Wow. Well, I know you grew. Your roots are in Mississippi and Louisiana. Kind of give folks an idea about Davis the kid and Davis growing up.
Well, I was born and raised in New Orleans, and so weather was something that, no matter where you live, it's a big deal. But my family happened to race sailboats a lot, and also I like to fish, as you probably know.
Yes.
And I spent my summers on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in a house that my great grandfather had built, and I would leave and go there every summer and stay there, and my father would commute back and forth from New Orleans to Long Beach, Mississippi, just outside of Gulfport. And that house was blown away in Hurricane Camille in 1969. It was something our family adored. We'd gone through, all the Nolans going back several generations would come there every holiday, and my cousins would come from Mobile and meet me there. And we were right on the beach on Highway 90. And it was just some of my fondest memories as a child was on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And of course, I spent my winters and school time in New Orleans. And then Hurricane Camille blew that away. And, sure, hurricanes would pique my interest, but for example, we would be, sailing and racing sailboats, and naturally the wind and the weather mattered. And I would watch the weatherman in New Orleans is named Nash Roberts, and he's passed away now, obviously, but he was the first meteorologist on TV in New Orleans, and he was a real meteorologist. He actually was in the Navy in the Pacific during World War II, and was a meteorologist then for the Navy. And basically, I would watch him, and we would see him. He liked to explain things, which is what I like to do. He would show us the old plexiglass map. He'd draw a cold front back around Houston. He'd say, "Okay, our winds are from the south right now." And he'd draw an arrow from the south. And he said, "This front's coming our way tomorrow." And he'd have winds from the north behind the front. And he'd draw, have thunderstorms along that. He said, "Okay, we're going to have this line of storms come through here probably tomorrow night. And once that front comes through, you're going to see the wind shift to the north, and we're going to start getting colder." And of course, we would be out on sailboats experiencing exactly what he said. Of course, we're not always perfectly right, but either way, and my father was not a meteorologist, but he was really into that also. And so that piqued my interest in weather. And so that's why I got a degree in meteorology. I went to Tulane and got a degree in earth sciences, which was really geology. And then I went to Florida State the next following year and got a degree in meteorology right after I graduated. Now, I played music the whole time. That was my sort of really. We can talk about that more in a moment, I guess.
Yeah.
I won't talk about that first, but the weather thing was something to pique my interest. So that's how I got sort of interested in it. And then when I moved to Tallahassee to start majoring in meteorology, the local TV station that needed a weekend weather person. They didn't have weekend news. They were just adding it. And back then, they didn't even have videotapes yet. So you had to literally go to the studio and audition in person. And they let students from Florida State come do it, which, that wouldn't happen nowadays.
Right.
And so I got to go out there. Long story short, I got the job. And so then, I eventually came here 42 years ago.
Wow. And, it seems, when you think, okay, 42 years ago, that was 1982. I was in college then. And, that's not all that long ago. It doesn't seem like. It kind of hurts my feelings sometimes when people say, way back in the 90s or way back in the 80s. But
yeah, it doesn't seem long to me.
Yeah, but there's something romantic about growing up on the, to me, the Gulf Coast holds something very special. And you mentioned that you got into music, and let me think. Okay, here's a guy grew up on the Gulf Coast, plays a little music, likes that Gulf lifestyle. Kind of reminds me of somebody.
I guess you were going to say the late Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Well, my brother is a huge Buffett fan. Not that I'm not. I love what he did, and he brought a lot back home. What I mean by that is my brother actually lives in Pensacola. Right. And my family went to Pensacola every summer. We had a sailboat race to Pensacola from Gulfport. And when I was little, my mother and my brother would drive to Pensacola from Long Beach near Gulfport, while my father was racing on one of the boats. When we got older, we were racing too. But either way, we go to Pensacola and do this, and we loved that place. The water's so pristine. And of course, Jimmy Buffett is from the Mobile area, and of course, he even there's a hotel in Pensacola there, right there on the beach next to the pier. It's Margaritaville Hotel. Right. And so he Pensacola, Mobile, Gulf Shores, that area is really his stomping ground, shall we say. And he, during the oil spill, he was very active in all that, and he really loved where he was from and brought it home to us, shall we say, even though I was here in Nashville most of the time. Yeah. He brought it home to the people there, which I really like.
Yeah, I tell you, his concert for the Gulf, it's on YouTube, and every once in a while, there's a couple of songs in particular that are favorites of mine, and I thought his versions during that were fun. Now, as a college guy, and what made you or what was your inspiration into wanting to do some music? And you've kind of continued some of that along the way, and sat in with some bands and things like that.
Right. Well, for me, I was growing up in New Orleans, and I always like to tell this story. I was born in 1954, so I was probably third grade-ish, let's say. And my parents gave me this little transistor radio. It was about this big. It was AM. I don't think we even had FM yet, or if we did have FM, my radio wasn't that. and they actually wanted me to listen to WWL radio live from the Blue Room of the Roosevelt Hotel. They played big band music, World War II style music that my parents liked. And of course, I didn't want that. I was changing over to the little pop station, which played the pop music. And a lot of the pop music was good. That's what I'd rather hear. But it was like, okay. And most I was into the novelty songs, up here in Nashville, Ray Stevens, did they have the Arab, I believe it was, and things like that were funny. You got to be old to know these songs. All of a sudden, one day I'm sitting here and I hear down, 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 doom, 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 down, 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 doom, 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 down, down. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna try to sing, but the Beatles. And it was like, what is this? And I went running into the kitchen and Mama, what is this? What is this? And she's like, oh, that's those English Beatles. They're getting sort of popular nowadays, and I'm like, whoa. And then I heard She Loves You. And I'm like, there's nothing. This doesn't sound like anything. Everything up until then, the beginning of rock and roll was sort of the old blues rock thing. And it all sort of sounded the same. And don't get me wrong, those are John Lennon and Paul McCartney would say, these are the people that inspired us to do what we do. Right. But to me, it was sort of boring because we just keep hearing the same stuff over and over again. And these guys did something that didn't even sound, when they would say that they were inspired by Elvis and Chuck Berry, I was like, where do they get that from? I'm going to hold your hand and She Loves You. Doesn't sound anything like that. But now that I'm older, I understand where they get that from. But anyway, to continue the story, I heard that and I wanted a guitar. So my grandmother bought me an old Silvertone guitar at Sears, and I started playing that. Eventually got an electric guitar. I get these Beatle books they'd have the songs in it with the sheet music and have the chords written right over the top. And I could read sheet music because I played trumpet at school, but all I needed was the chords over the top, and I knew how the song went already from the record, and I would just sing and play the chords. So that's what got me going. And, so I love that. And, of course, I still love the weather, too. So there was those two things that just, so I just kept on doing both of them most of my life. And I haven't done the music in the last 20, 25 years or so, but my daughter's carrying the torch on with that. But, excuse me, that's what got me inspired. When I moved here, the reason, Neil Horn did a story with me recently, and, he's asking me, did you move here to be a musician or did you move here to be a meteorologist? It's both. It was both, because I wouldn't have just moved here if I didn't have a job. But at the same time, I took the job here because there was music going on here. Now, I didn't really play country music, but I spent about 5 years. I had friends of mine that wrote really good lyrics, and I really wasn't very good at writing country lyrics, right? So I would most of these guys didn't play an instrument. And so I would put people's lyrics to music, and so I did some country a little bit, but it really wasn't me. And so I started writing some of the stuff and see, I went from the Beatles progressed into all this progressive stuff when it ended with Abbey Road. That's like not She Loves You, yeah, yeah, yeah anymore, and it's often to like a level that what became progressive rock. And that became bands, and I'm gonna age myself here, but for those who are the right age, bands like Yes, the Moody Blues, early Genesis, and even late Genesis for that matter, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and I love Jethro Tull. Okay, those kind of bands. And that eventually brought me to Rush, which was a hard rock twist on that. I did love Led Zeppelin, though. Led Zeppelin was as rock and roll as I want. I had a bunch of friends of mine that played in a progressive rock band, much more talented than me, and I did sound and lights for them. And the keyboard player, he played with the New Orleans Symphony. And he was rather wealthy, and his parents bought him a Moog synthesizer and a Mellotron. So I was doing sound and lights. These guys were playing that kind of music. They were playing Moody Blues, Genesis, Yes, Led Zeppelin, all that music as for cover songs. So I love this progressive rock stuff. So I started trying to write music. Now, I wasn't as talented as these guys in Yes and Rick Wakeman and, Steve Howe. These people are like from another planet, in my opinion. But I was influenced by that. So I sort of tried to write something that was sort of progressive rock, but it wasn't as complicated as what those people could do, because those people were on another level when it comes to technical ability, So that's what I did on the side. And, I finally, friends of mine asked me, I did play around town with a band for about 10, 15 years. And friends of mine asked me, did you put some of this music? Because I didn't have anywhere anybody could hear it. So I finally made if you go into YouTube and look under Davis Nolan Music, it's just my name and then the word music. Mm-hmm. You'll see this number 7 pop up. It'll be a big white White and Black 7. That's what I call the band, was 7. And so I put music videos. There's not people playing. I just have credits to who's playing on what songs in the studio, because there were different people in every studio song. But anyway, you can hear all the stuff that I did, and I have stuff on there that I co-wrote with a few other people as well. So
I was going to ask
my music career.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you have any? Do you have any credits that are out there on any songs?
No, I mean, you mean nothing's famous. No, I don't have anything that I wrote that's famous. When I did the stuff for the rock stuff, that's basically something that, a rock band does their own thing, and most people wouldn't do a cover song of something, by Rush. I mean, it does happen, but it wasn't like so it wasn't something that songs designed for other people to do. There were songs designed more or less for yourself to do. And some of them have a Christian rock flair to them because most of them are messagey songs. So I had people in the studio when I was recording it tell me, well, you should be pitching this to Word Records and stuff. And I didn't think of myself as Christian rock, but I thought, well, those lyrics are, that does fit, I mean, it's not all totally biblical stuff. It was all message type stuff.
Right.
So anyway, but so the music, I always say that, there were two things that I always loved in my life. That was music and weather. And God actually let me do one for a living and have some fun doing the other.
I was going to say the weather funded your habit, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now, you said your daughter's involved in music. Now, what is she up to?
Well, she's she started off doing like a cappella stuff, and she was really good at it. She has a YouTube channel too, and I don't know why she does. Her name's Amanda, but she likes to call herself Amandum, Amandumb.
Huh.
Okay, and don't know why she picked that, but she's making fun of herself, I guess, which I think is a good thing for people to have a sense of humor. And she would do these a cappella things where she'd come up with like 8-part harmonies, and she would produce videos where there'd be 8 of her faces singing all the harmonies. And I mean, I would tell her, I said, that's the best thing, because she went on to doing other things. Like my wife's Japanese, so my daughter's half Japanese, and she's been to Japan so much that she speaks fluent Japanese. So she started doing songs, famous songs, and singing them in Japanese, and that took off. She said, well, that's easier to do than this 8-part harmony stuff, because it takes me like days to produce that, whereas I could just sing a song in Japanese, put it on there in 5 minutes, and people like it. And I said, well, but your real talent's doing that harmony thing, man. That's really good.
Yeah.
And so she's right now out in Los Angeles. There's a producer out there that likes her voice, and he's been working with her. He's got some stuff that he wrote that she's worked with him on. So she's out there right now working with him. There's no major label involved right now, but maybe one day there will be. But either way, that's why I say she's sort of carrying on the torch of the music in the Nolan family.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Well, we learned a lot about Davis right there and his growing up and the things that he likes to do along with his job in the weather. And we will dive into the weather, and there's been plenty of it, when we return on the Wednesday Roundtable here on WGNS.
Hey guys, this is Scott. There's a lot of people talking about testosterone. I was one of them at one point, but I'm here to say you need to do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust. I went to Low T Center. That's where I get my levels checked, and they specialize in men's wellness and customized testosterone treatment. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. So if you've been feeling tired, grumpy, noticed a weight gain, and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. Low T Center is literally concierge medicine exclusively for men, and they have affordable, convenient treatment options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to your home each month. So there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. Right now, it's only $25 to get your testosterone level tested with results back in 25 minutes. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
As a leader in environmental services, sustainability is deeply integrated into our business model. At Middle Point Landfill, we are environmentalists at heart. We use cutting-edge technology in combination with our deep experience in recycling and waste services to protect our environment and our neighbors. That's our job, and that's our promise. We invite you to learn more about us at middlepointlandfill.com. For public services, we are sustainability in action.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
We're learning about Adams Place.
My name is Carrie Shannon. It was kind of hard to leave, but once you leave and you see where you've come to, you know that you made the right decision.
Do you enjoy the food?
Yes, at Adams Place, you feel like you are in an upscale restaurant. Really good food, good for you, and is very delicious. We enjoy it very much.
I'm Terry Deal. Call me about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111. Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and Americare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Let's check those WGNS Good Neighbor events. Perhaps you need a grief support group. There's one every Wednesday morning at 10 over at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. That's at 325 St. Clair Street. Wednesday mornings at 10. The other one's a variation on that. It's a walk. For those who are grieving, if you walk a little and talk, it's very good for you. A morning walk every Thursday morning at 9:30, and it meets right there at Oakland's Park under the shelter next to Oakland's Mansion. That's Thursday mornings at 9:30. By the way, both are free. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast has been moved to this Saturday. Yep, same time, same place. 9 o'clock this Saturday morning at MTSU's James Union Building. If you have questions, get with Florence Smith. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS. And let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good Neighbor weather. We'll see periods of showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon with cloudy skies, a high into the mid-60s. South winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 55.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's EV Car Club has hundreds of members and growing. EV owners, enthusiasts, and anyone interested in learning more about electric vehicles is encouraged to sign up at mte.com/EV Car Club.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable on this Wednesday here on WGNS, and the rain is starting to move in. And the man here to tell us all about it is Davis Nolan. And Davis, we had a major weather event last week. We'll jump into that in just a second. But what are we going to be seeing over the next 48 hours?
Well, rain, and it's sort of a good thing because number one is, it helped wash away the ice. The way things, it's funny because I was telling people last Sunday night when I was doing the weather, I said, look, even though tomorrow, Monday, we're going to get in the 40s. If you're on one of these ice covered roads that's like packed where the snow has been packed down, it's like 2 inches thick and it's just packed down to like ice now and in the sun, and just every day went down and it just got harder and harder and harder. That's not going to go away in the sunshine and 45 degrees. It's going to take the rain in the 50s and now 60s today to help get rid of that. And sure enough, finally, that was where my driveway was, and it goes down on a slope. And I've had to park at the top of my driveway for over a week. And finally, for the first time since Sunday a week ago, I came down my driveway and parked in front of my house where I normally park for the first time in over a week yesterday when I came home.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it took that rain to finally do it. So on to what we can expect here. It's going to be rain today, and there may be a rumble of thunder or two down to our south. As you might have seen on TV and whatnot, there is a flood watch in effect, but it doesn't include Rutherford County. It goes south of you in Bedford County, Marshall County, Coffee County. Those southern counties are under the flood watch, and also our western counties from the Tennessee River westward are under the flood watch as well. And overall, that goes from noon today until 6 p.m., I believe Thursday, and maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain. And the flood watch is to our south, but, all of us could maybe see some little localized flooding, from it. Luckily, our rivers and streams are not inundated right now, but we did have quite a snowpack on the ground that's melting, and the ground is sort of saturated from the snowpack melting itself. So what rain does fall almost, because of the snowpack is helping it to run off pretty quickly. So that's why that flood watch is in effect. Now, again, it doesn't include Rutherford County, but we could be seeing 2 to 3 inches of rain. And we get rain today, we get rain tomorrow. We may throw a thunderstorm or two in the mix. Right now, I don't see a big severe weather situation or anything like that, but we could have a thunderstorm or two in the mix tomorrow. And we get a break Friday after maybe a morning shower. And then we have another round of rain coming Saturday that could give us another inch of rain, half inch to an inch of rain on Saturday. We finally cool down on Sunday behind that system. But when I say cool down, we're talking about 40s for highs. And there is a chance for some snow showers at the tail end of that up on the plateau and maybe far eastern parts of Middle Tennessee, but not as far west as Nashville and Murfreesboro. So for all practical purposes, no snow in the forecast unless you're in our far eastern counties, like on Sunday behind that system. But we will turn colder on Sunday, be in the 40s Sunday through Monday and Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday comes back to 50s possibly, but we clear out for Monday and Tuesday, where it should be sunny. So the rain is really today and tomorrow with a break Friday and then more Saturday. But it has really helped wash away that ice. There's probably, when I came home, there was still a little bit. Ironically, it was where my footprints had been, where it packed it down with my heavy self. Packed it down even further on the ice, and it had melted away all around except a few of my footprints were still there, which was really funny.
Yeah.
On the driveway. So that was the good part of this. I think the rain really helped us. Because without the rain, man, it takes, I don't care if the temperature's above freezing, it takes longer to get rid of something that's packed down that hard, like those side streets and side roads were, up until really today.
Yeah, it melted it just enough to where it made it worse because it had a little water on top of that ice as well. Now, that whole situation last week, it's not unusual for us to get 6, 7, 8 inches of snow once every 2 or 3 years. But for it to get that cold and last that long is the unusual part. What were the factors that came in to make it, quote unquote, the perfect storm?
Well, first of all, the cold lasted so long. We had quite an Arctic air mass, and it was very cold Arctic air mass. And when you look at the jet stream, and again, I know we're on the radio and we're not showing you graphics on TV, but the jet stream usually shows those troughs, which is a big U-shaped, trough-shaped thing in a jet stream, and then there were waves of energy dropping into that trough. So it would just sort of reinforce, like a high would build in, cold high build in, and then another cold high was building in right behind that. So it helped extend it, longer. Okay, and once it snowed, that extended the snowpack staying on the ground longer. You get that sun in the day, and like I said, it would make it worse because the sun, even if the temperature was below freezing, the sun would sort of make a sheen on top of that snow. And it would sort of pack down a little bit, and then that sheen would be much slipperier than it was when it first snowed, when it was grainy and that type of that dry snow. It was real grainy and gritty. But then basically the Arctic air mass was so cold. Of course, here in Nashville, we got down to 1 below. That's the first time since that Christmas week when we had the rolling blackouts last year. And then we'd gone back to the 90s since we'd been below zero before then. But anyway, the fact that we stayed so cold so long allowed that snowpack to stay on the ground. Now, the Weather Service put out a stat the other day that in 1978, we went, I wish I could pull it back up again. That's the longest stretch we've ever gone with measurable snow on the ground in Nashville, was in 1978. And I want to say it was like 17 days, but my brain's not really good at remembering the exact day. But and this time it was more like 10 days, 10, 11 days, something like that.
Yeah, it was. it was something else. But it was interesting. It's always interesting too, the different types of snow. This was not good snowman making snow, but it was good snow cream making snow and good sledding snow for sure.
Yeah, when the sleds, usually the first sled would go down, would pack it down a little bit, and the next guys could get a better run the more you packed it down and stayed in that little thing. But at first it was a fluffy, dry, grainy snow. And that you couldn't make much of a couldn't make a snowball, have a snowball fight. You couldn't roll a snowman up. Now, when it finally started to pack down and get a little wet after 3 or 4 days, we saw people making snowmen and sending us pictures to Channel 2. Which was nice. But yeah, initially it wasn't good for that. But the sledding you could still do, which was good. And I think a lot of kids had fun. Of course, we had words of sledding accidents too, which was a shame. But but it's amazing what the snow can do around here, and the different types of snow, like you say. That was I don't want to say it's unusual for us to get that type of snow, but we'll see a lot of wet snows around here too, which are heavier. And of course, the heavy wet snow can stick to the trees more and cause tree limbs to fall and cause power outages, and sure, it makes better snowman weather, but it can be more of a problem initially.
Yeah, it sure was pretty. The people love to pick on the TV weather people and say, oh, they never get it right. They predict it and all this stuff, and they're in cahoots with Kroger and whatever, about putting the snow forecast out. But I will say, you all hit this one dead on, and for days ahead of time, said it's coming, right. And sure enough, almost to the minute, you guys all across all the TV stations in Nashville did a great job. And of course, you all, one of the backbones to all of the TV weather people is the National Weather Service office in Nashville, right. Which Sam Schamberger and those guys are just fantastic.
They are incredible. Okay, I mean, all the Weather Service offices have great people, but I have so much experience with these people here. Chrissy Hurley, the meteorologist in charge, Larry Venozzi before him, Daryl Martin before her, Daryl Martin before Larry. All three have been great chief, meteorologists in charge. Sam Schamberger. I hate to pick just one out because Sam's one of the ones that goes on TV for us, and but there's a whole lot of guys and girls there in that office that are just really good, and they're so dedicated. I sometimes, like, we have our chat room that we can go into, the media, and we can ask questions and they'll give us information. They call it NWS chat. And I look sometimes at other towns and they don't give out, they don't get on the chat room and talk with us, with the media as much as our guys do with us. Some of them do it a lot. But there's some markets that they don't do it much at all. And their website, the website we have for the National Weather Service here, they've got a whole thing that's local. It's a whole history of storms. And you can go back through and click on dates and everything. Other towns, and I won't name names, but you can go to other towns and they don't have any such thing. You want to find out about, a storm, and that storm that was in 1992 or whatever it was, if it was a big thing, they've got an article about it written, and some of these guys and girls out there, I always ask Sam, do you ever sleep? Because Sam has actually gone back, Google Earth. If you use the version that you download, not the website version, but the one you download into your desktop, you can actually slide back in time, because Google Earth, it's not a satellite view, it's an aerial view from an airplane. But either way, they update it every so many years or whatever. And it's not updated every month or every year, but it's every so many years. Well, he's gone back and slid that slide bar back in time and found a time period that was not long after a major tornado. And he's changed the track from like 10, 15 years ago, because he would find, like, let's say on the Cumberland Plateau where there weren't many roads or whatever, and he would see in Fentress County the storm went like for another 1.5 miles more than what they said back in 1990 something or other.
Yeah.
They start seeing the tree damage on Google Earth by sliding it back to like that time period. And like I said, I asked Sam, like, do you sleep? But we appreciate his work.
Well, and he was one of the, I guess, more famous things he did was with the tornado that came through downtown Nashville several years ago. I think he lives in one of the high rises, and he had cell phone video of it.
Yeah, he had the flu, and here he was. Of course, he was able to. When you're at the Weather Service office, that's the one thing about tornadoes is it on the ground? Is it not on the ground? We have that. You see that red next to the green couplet that we show you all the time. okay? And that doesn't tell you it's on the ground. That just tells you got this rotation in the thunderstorm that could be on the ground. And, when we went to dual pole Doppler radar, that's where we finally got this debris tracker. We call it debris tracker. It's technically called correlation coefficient. And that's a technical term for meteorologists. And what it does is the dual pole sends out a horizontal. It used to just send out a horizontally phased beam. And I don't want to get too technical here, and I'm not an engineer, but I can at least, I do have a minor in physics, so I at least understand this much. The dual pole sends out, the old radar, before dual pole, just sent a horizontally phased beam. Dual pole means it sends out a horizontally phased beam and a vertically phased beam. So when it hits a target, like a raindrop or cloud droplet, whatever that it's sensing off of, it senses the horizontal and vertical characteristics of it. Okay, so raindrops are all pretty uniform. So they're all about the same size if it's raining, and so they all correlate really well to one another. And on the Weather Service display, they'll make that in a deepish, purplish, reddish color, and it's nice and uniform, okay? And so, but let's say if the rain droplet hits roofing shingles or tree limbs or something, siding of a house, okay, which is one piece is wider than it is tall, and other people's piece is taller than it is wide. And the radar beams hitting all these objects, and they don't correlate very well. One's this way bigger than that way, there's that way bigger than this way. So it doesn't correlate well. So the correlation coefficient is low, meaning it has a low correlation of the targets. So that means it's probably debris, because precipitation is usually uniform. Snow, rain, usually they're all about the same size for the most part. And so when you get this debris signature, which they usually display in shades of yellow to green to blue, that usually means that the tornado's on the ground. If you see that line up with the red and the green, which we call the gate-to-gate winds, then you just confirm it's on the ground. So that helps a lot, but it's not perfect, okay? When you get too far away from the radar, you can't always see it. You get too close to the radar, sometimes it gets too close. We had that case with the Nashville tornado when it came in just last month, when it was coming into, and the tornado apparently actually lifted, and it came down again right when it's crossed I-65 into Madison. And it wasn't showing a debris signature. We weren't sure, did it get too close to the radar? And then finally, we had that TDOT camera show it, and we knew it was on the ground. But that's the whole thing. Knowing something's on the ground is harder than just seeing the gate-to-gate winds. And back to Sam, he's sitting here in downtown Nashville, and they pretty sure it's on the ground, but he's on the phone. Hey, guys, I'm looking at it, okay?
Yeah.
And he could hear, well, he's seeing the flashes of the, what we call the power flashes when electrical wires and transformers are blowing, see that big flash, and some people think it's lightning, but you can tell it's not lightning, it's coming from the ground. And he's watching all that. He even could hear some of the construction cranes. They went, and he actually heard bending steel over, where the tornado was going through. He could hear this, this noise really far away. And he's able to tell his colleagues at the Weather Service says, I'm observing it on the ground. That's just huge. And it sounds like something so simple, but it's not. Okay. Yeah. And so those observations are just really, really big. And when we get it on camera, that's a big thing too.
All right, Davis Nolan is our guest. We're going to take a final break and get back with our final segment. And we'll continue along here with Davis talking weather from News 2 here on WGNS.
When you have fire, water, or storm damage, Farrah Construction can help. Farrah Construction is also there to help when a car slams through the wall. Call Farrah Construction and we'll board up, put down tarps, secure your home or business until the insurance coverage is approved. Call Farrah Construction at 615-893-6120. I'm Ron Hall. Shop local. Let our family business help you. Farrah Construction Company.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Rayburn Insurance in Smyrna.
Come see me, Rick Hall, at Rayburn Insurance in downtown Smyrna today.
Online at rayburn.net.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Boots, Boots, Boots. French's Shoes and Boots is your hometown store for the latest in Southern style and unbeatable prices. French's famous bargain racks are loaded with deals on name brand footwear priced 70 to 90% below retail. Come see why French's has been Tennessee's favorite place to shop since 1903. Find that new favorite pair you'll be proud to wear at French's Shoes and Boots.
Shop at French's. French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Hello, this is Greg Tidwell from Bell Jewelers. There's nothing like the sparkle of a Bell Jewelers diamond. That's something my father said a long time ago, and we honor that tradition today by picking just the most beautiful diamonds for our Murfreesboro customers. People want to know who they can trust, and Bell Jewelers gets that call quite a bit. Bell Jewelers at 821 Northwest Broad Street. We're across the street from Toots. We're open 10 to 6 during the week, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and close most Sundays.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Wednesday Roundtable. Davis Nolan from News 2 is here with us, meteorologist, celebrating 42 years with the ABC affiliate in Nashville. And Davis, next week, one of the most famous weather people will make their prediction. That will be Punxsutawney Phil. And but what are the all of the Weather Service and all of your resources? What are they saying about our winter? Because people think winter is December, January, but we have some of our most, prolific winter weather. Some of the biggest snows we've ever had have been in March.
Yeah, exactly. Well, March is when you finally warm up.
Yeah.
You get more moisture in place. And if you get the cold air in March, usually you'll get a big, heavy, wet snow. It may not stay on the ground very long compared to this last one, but especially. But it's when you get a bigger, heavier, wet one. Now, the thing about long-range weather forecasting, we got El Nino and La Nina and things that we look at, okay? But I want to answer your question first, but then I want to backstep to explain some of these things, okay? This is an El Nino year. And for example, I'm looking at right now the seasonal temperature outlook. And if you wanted to go to, if you put just Google the Climate Prediction Center, okay, and then go to there and look at their 3-month outlook, and right now the latest one that came out in the mid-January, a new one's coming out here shortly, from February, March to April, okay? So it's the second half of winter going into spring, okay? For us in Tennessee, it has us, unfortunately, in equal chances of above normal temperatures, equal chances of above or below normal temperatures, and equal chances of above or below normal rainfall. What's that tell you?
Okay. Yeah, and that's like the dividing line that we typically see with winter weather being I-40. You have equal or better chance, above or below I-40, and I hear all of you a lot of times talking about, okay, that's where that delineation is typically going to be, but it's a great landmark.
Yeah, it does. We sort of use it as north of I-40, south of I-40, but it's a good thing to use. But at the same time, it's funny because like the difference between Nashville and Louisville, it's a big difference weather-wise. Yeah. And from Nashville to Birmingham, huge, or Huntsville for that matter. Let's say Birmingham especially. So we're right in the middle of this transition zone. And I'll get back to the long range thing. But one thing I always want to say, people say, why is it so hard to predict snow in Nashville? Well, this last snow wasn't like this. What it normally is like is, we almost always, let's say 80% of the time, start as rain, but change over to snow. Well, just by telling you that knows, that's tricky. What if the system gets moved out before the cold air gets in, then you don't get the snow you thought you'd get.
Right.
If the cold air move in sooner, you might get more than you thought you'd get. Okay. So, and that has a little bit to do with this, where we're in this transition. It's a lot colder, just 50 miles north of here, 100 miles north of here, and so we're right in the middle all the time. So this last one actually started the snow and ended the snow, which does make it easier, but it's still different. It was still difficult. I can tell you more about that later, but basically we almost always have that. And that makes it very hard here to forecast it, because what I just said, you got this rain going on, and when will the rain transition to snow? And we're saying 1 to 3 inches. Next thing you know, Dixon and Clarksville, it's almost ending there, and they're not going to get any. And then, okay, well, it's about in Nashville, we're making a few flurries. Then suddenly, let's say, Sparta to Cookeville gets 3 inches, and the rest of us get flurries.
Yeah.
And our inches went down the tube, and vice versa. So that was one of the things that makes it hard. Generally speaking, if you ask anybody that's snow forecasting, what's the biggest thing that determines the difference in snow, they'll say the track of the low pressure area. So, but in that is true, of course, and that helps with the things I just mentioned about the cold and that. But the syncing up of that cold and that at the same time are important. This last one was different than that. We did have a wave of low pressure to our south, but we had a lot of upper level energy, and it was really more uniform. I mean, sure, Clarksville only had about 1 to 3 inches, whereas it got to the 7 to 8 inches down from Nashville south and east. And that was pretty uniform. It's hardly ever that uniform for us. But what made it difficult is, you see, days in advance, we were able to tell you, like you said, I mean, a whole 5 to 7 days in advance, we started telling you, we're likely to get an accumulating snow, next Sunday night and a Monday. And, I'm saying on the Sunday night news the week before, but I'm not even going to start to tell you how many inches. Well, I can show you the GFS and the Euro go from saying 15 inches, the next day saying half an inch, the next day saying 6 to 8 inches, the next day saying 2 inches. And people will post this stuff online. Then they look like fools the next day, when it's totally different. And I'll tell you right now, both the European and the GFS, the day before this last snowstorm, said about a half inch of snow for Nashville.
Wow.
And that's those same models had been saying 5 to 7 inches prior to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then went down and stayed down for about 24 hours, and then went up a little bit, but they were still only in the 3-inch range. Okay. When the last model runs we had before the snow. Okay. Now those are the longer range. Those are global models. Okay. But, so that, what do you have to go by? You can make speculations, but that's why the Weather Service and we ourselves won't give you an accumulation forecast till at least it's like 48 hours out. We'll tell you this is going to be an accumulating snow. We really think you're going to get an accumulating snow, where it's going to really impact travel and schools and everything. But trying to tell you numbers, I had people on Facebook, oh, Davis, people are posting the GFS online. I said, yeah, look, watch the next run and see what it says. So now the day of, we got short range models, but they're just that. They don't come out till 24 hours in advance. And as soon as the short range models came out, they were all going for, a big snow. And almost we thought, man, it's going to be that much, and it ended up being that much,
Yeah.
So we kept saying, you're going to get an accumulating snow, and we kept saying that Nashville was probably, I think we were still sort of right until the very end, still saying the 3-inch range for Nashville. At the last, when we got to the day of, our morning people were able to say, okay, we've already gotten 1 to 3 overnight, or 1 inch overnight. We're going to start going 5 to 7 now, and from Nashville southward, and we were always saying south could be 6 inches plus. We kept saying, from really I-40 southward, we're drawing a line saying you could see 6 inches plus down here, So that's how crazy even that last one was. And that last one was one of the easiest ones we've ever had.
Yeah. Final 5 minutes here with Davis Nolan. And Davis, is it more fun to do the weather with all the I'll call them the tools and toys that you now have, as opposed to in the beginning when you used dry erase markers and the plexiglass map?
Well, I like the old plexiglass map too, but I can show you so much more with this. You know, And, one of the things you were saying you wanted to ask me about, we've already gotten into it, is how has technology changed since I got into the business?
Right.
Well, Doppler radar did not exist when I got into the business. That was a game changer, okay? In 1998 or 1995, Nashville finally got the Doppler radar. Wasn't dual pole yet, but it was the Doppler radar. So that was in place when the 1998 tornado hit downtown Nashville, okay? And that was huge. In the old days, the radar only showed you where it was raining. That's it. Now you got a radar that's showing you these wind speeds and the conflicting winds, the gate-to-gate winds, all those things. So that's been huge. And being able to show that in severe weather is monstrously huge. The biggest game changer as far as life-saving things in the world. But as far as just a day-to-day forecast on TV, being able to show you the satellite views, being able to show you the radar on a computer thing, being able to base that's a clear map with numbers for highs and lows. As much fun as it was with the old plexiglass, I'll take the computers nowadays and being able to show you these models. There's oftentimes I've gone on TV and showed two different models to show you the timing of the storms. This one says it'll be at noon. This one says it won't be till 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
To show people uncertainty. So, I like the newer stuff.
Yeah. One of the other fun things you do with your job, and you mentioned earlier about, growing up on the coast and you like fishing and when you decided to move here, you did a lot of it because you were obviously working in weather, but the music part of it. But you may not have known what a good fishing area you were going to move to, and with all the lakes, and you live up on the lake now, and to be able to do that, and it's for us old heads, for you to kind of give a nod to Jimmy Holt and Glenn with their version of what they used to call, let's go to the picture board. You do it with your fishing funtacular. And, and people have to love that because I'm sure you just get, once fishing season gets going, you get inundated. And I know you love to put up kids who finally catch their first fish.
Yeah. And that is totally snowballed, no pun intended. We started doing that, and luckily it airs on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and our producer doesn't care how long it is because he's trying to fill time on the weekends when you don't have a lot of news going on. And so many pictures come in, and I want to show something from something everybody sent. And if it was on a weekday news show, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to show like 6 pictures and stop because I don't have enough time. But it gets to the point where we're getting to June and July, I'm showing between 10 and 15 pictures a show, and the thing's getting to 3 minutes long. You're not supposed to you don't have 3-minute long stories in news hardly ever. But they don't mind. So I'm proud to say that I think I have shown something from if somebody sends me like 5 pictures of the same person, I may only show you one of them.
Right.
I'll get a picture from a family. You got Johnny, Susie, Billy, and Sarah, And you can't show Johnny and Susie not showing Billy and Sarah, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to get them all 4 in, and I'll try to make a four graphic thing where I can show all 4. You can barely fit all the names in the banner, but I'm proud to say that I've showed something from everybody, something that everybody's sent. And it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And, to have people come up and say, you showed my kid on TV, or a little kid himself saying, you showed me on TV, with my first fish, is a warm feeling. And, I figured out in the summertime, that we showed between 500 and 600 pictures between OCNO Marine. Craig Owen, our good friend, starts to sponsor usually in like April. Sometimes we started in March, but usually April 1st. And we go all the way to the end of October. So April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months time, and sometimes showing 10 to 12 pictures or more. It ends up being between 500 and 600 pictures. In the very beginning, I only have like 5 or 6 per show.
Yeah.
Within it's 10 to 15 per show. And we might have 500 to 600 pictures to show over the whole summer time period. And I'm really proud of that. And yeah, I used to watch Jimmy Holt and Glenn hold up the picture.
That's right.
I can put it on the computer and show it. And I just think it's a fun thing. And I feel proud that, I make some parents and some kids smile.
Absolutely. Davis, it has been a terrific, fast hour. We could go another hour or two, and we'll have to do this, pick this up again, and because there's so much other stuff I wanted to talk to you about, and we'll get to all that. But you're a staple on Nashville television. You've helped us out on the Blue Raider Network a few times, and really appreciate that. And just, look forward to keep watching you and keep getting this that fearless forecast.
Well, thank you so much, Chip. It was an honor to be on with you today.
Appreciate it. Davis Nolan from News 2 joining us today. If you missed any of this or want to re-listen, it'll be on the podcast section of WGNSradio.com. Brian Barrett coming up next, and keep it here all day long on the Big G, WGNS.